So today's video isn't like the rest that I've done before. You see, I am an anime fan, well, anime and manga. And as the title suggests, this video is going to be about the ending to My Hero Academy. And first thing to say is that when it started, like the anime started, that's pretty much how I was introduced to it, and I was super into it. Right, I loved all of season one, season two, but after that, I kind of just fell off from the anime, and I didn't really think about reading the manga because I didn't really care to read manga at the time. I read manga now way more than I did back then. I did read some manga here and there, but at the time I wasn't really into manga, so I didn't want to hop on for that. But that doesn't mean I don't know anything. I know actually bits of the story from a bunch of videos about it that I see from time to time. When I heard that My Hero Academy was ending soon, I kept tabs on it, and before I tell you my thoughts, I'll tell you how the ending went, in case you didn't know. Right, so just obviously spoilers, but you probably already know if you are looking at if you're watching this video, and I'll tell you basically why I think it's disappointing. So, from what I understand, Class 1A graduates as a whole. Izuku, he loses one for all, and there's like an 8-year time skip since then. And during those years, at some point, he became a teacher. I don't know if it was after those years or whatnot, but I think it was during those years he became a teacher. And due to their schedules not lining up, the whole class was basically barely able to meet each other during those 8 years, right? So I think they did meet each other at times, but not as much. And I think it's said in some of the panels that he felt kind of lonely because of it, but whatever, we can't do anything about that. And at the end of those 8 years, it's revealed that Mei Hatsume was working on making a suit for Izuku, right, that would allow him to go back to hero work, because he stopped after losing his powers. And a side note is that Bakugo actually funded most of it. And it's implied that in one of the panels that heroes have much more free time, though I don't know whether they mean during those 8 years or after. So, yeah, I don't know. I need to definitely get that clarified. But at some point, a group statue is made of the entire class of 1A. So that's pretty cool. If I missed some stuff, go ahead and let me know in the comments. I'll make a comment about it, and pin that just so I could address it. But back to the meat of the video. My thoughts on the ending as a whole is that it's not good, right? Like I said, it's disappointing. Now, I don't know if I can say it's the worst ending of an anime, but it's up there. There's definitely way worse. I mean, honestly, it's up there. It's up there. But it's not the worst. The worst I can think of is like, what's that one called? Hello, it's editing reason here. So the one I was thinking about was The Promised Neverland, which had a pretty amazing first season. Everyone pretty much agreed on that, but the second season was where pretty much it fell off hard. Nobody, like, you're literally lying if you think that the second season is good. I'm pretty sure everybody realizes, or when they watched it, they're like, damn, this is the most disappointing thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, maybe not the most disappointing, but it's one of them. So, yeah. And that's pretty much the end of that anime. It is not coming back, and I'm pretty sure it's like the end, because it skipped a lot of arcs, so it's like the complete end of the manga too. So like the whole story. So yeah, that's probably the worst ending to an anime, but maybe not. I don't know. It could be worse, I guess, but that's the one I can think of off the top of my head as one of the worst anime endings. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Back to whatever I'm talking about. So it's not the worst, but it's up there. But I'll start, my thoughts with Izuku losing one for all. I'm actually fine with that happening. It's no longer needed, so no complaints there. During the 8 years he became a teacher. I think it makes sense, but it's still kind of dumb to me, but I'll address that at the end as a whole. With his class not being able to meet up during those 8 years and the statement that heroes have more free time, I don't know if they mean, like I said, I don't know if they mean it was during or after those 8 years. But if it's during, then his class essentially just stopped caring after they graduated. Like, yeah, they did, meet up, I don't know, once or twice. I don't know how many times during those 8 years, but it was to the point where he felt really lonely, right? Which doesn't make sense. That's really fucked up, right? Like, and this is all, like I said, on the assumption that after, after Shigaraki's death or whatever the hell happened to him, I don't know what happened. I think he died probably, right? After he died, the world was a little more peaceful and heroes had a lot more free time, right? They could be people again. You would think they would meet up way more often, right? Like, that doesn't make sense to me that they didn't meet up as often when they have more time now because, of all that stuff. So that's stupid and it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, at the end of those 8 years, though, he gets a hero suit, and that's pretty cool that they're able to get him to hero again. But that's only on the surface, and that's only when you stop thinking about a lot of the stuff that happens during the story. And so then when you do remember all that stuff, now you think, okay, hold up, big issue here. That's not a good solution, and that's pretty much all that happens. And so we're gonna get to the larger problem, right? So I'll give the big reason as to why I think this ending is shit. I know I've gotten from disappointing to bad to shit. I know, but it's when you think about it, it gets worse. So I'll actually give two reasons. So this is a sort of realistic thing to the ending, not completely realistic, but the whole, and people have talked about it, but the whole, because people complain about how they basically, abandoned Izuku after he lost his powers, right? And people have basically said, oh, but it's very realistic. Like, I don't meet all my high school friends. We didn't stay friends, and I can't see my friends as often because maybe our work never lined up. I could never get our days off, whatever, that stuff. And the problem with that is that My Hero Academy isn't realistic, right? Like it doesn't, and also doesn't have a realistic tone. So there's a lot optimistic about the world. So that whole thing doesn't work. It doesn't work. There's no build up, and it's not believable that that's what's going to happen. It's just an unnecessary tonal whiplash that doesn't have any build up. I don't believe in that realism in a story like My Hero Academy. Let me put it this way: there are some people in the story that essentially fight amazingly despite not having combat quirks. Stain trained so hard; he was a large threat even without his quirk. He was able to keep up with two speedsters in a fight without needing his quirk. I'm talking about Lita and Midoriya with his, full Cowling 20% or whatever the hell it was called. I think it was full Cowling, yeah. And Mirio, and if that's not enough, Mirio fought overall without a quirk for several minutes or so, dodging bullets, right? Like the only reason not the only reason, but yeah, I think actually, yeah, the main reason he lost, or the only reason he lost, was because, Overhaul had to pretty much get him into a trap by trying to harm Ares. So yeah, that says a lot. And this is after he lost his quirk, right? And then there is Knuckle Duster, who is literally quirkless and is still insanely strong. Like, if I remember correctly, he's able to, there's a couple of things he does that's crazy. You can look them up, right? But one of the ones, if you freaking read it, watched it, whatever the hell, then you know that he broke through Kirishima's, I forgot what it's called, but it's that form he has where he's like super rocky and spiky and stuff. Like he's quirkless, but he's super strong. And that, let me just tell you, if our world really was like My Hero Academy, that would not happen. You could not do that no matter how hard you trained. That's not realistic. It's not so, and that makes it, that sets the tone for you, right? It's very optimistic in how this world is. So for that to happen to the class, that realism doesn't work. And like I said, if the heroes did have more free time during the 8 years, if that's clarified, then it is literally no excuse, So let's get on to the last statement, and that actually also ties into the people who are powerful even without their quirk thing. Izuku doesn't learn and change by the end. He kind of stays the same, basically stays the same from the beginning. During those 8 years after losing his powers, he just gives up and stops being a hero for no reason. Like, there's no reason as to why he would do that when he has seen people during the anime, do basically be extremely strong without a quirk, right? Like, they're not quirkless. Well, not all of them were quirkless or anything, but a lot of their power was them and not their quirk. So the previous examples prove that wrong. He should have trained harder to stay a hero because that was his ultimate dream, and yet he gave up instead and became a teacher, right? And that's not a bad position, especially considering that he teaches at UA. But it doesn't make sense for him to give up like that. I think he would have learned by now that he could still be a hero, And I think the people who do accept this ending just didn't think about that. They just didn't. Oh, you know what? They didn't think about the fact that Stain, Mirio, Knuckle Duster, and even Aizawa show that Izuku could have stayed a hero, but he didn't. For some reason, he just defaulted to how he was before. He waited for someone to give him a handout in the form of a suit made by Mei, which is pretty much exactly how he was in the beginning when he wanted to be a hero, because he wanted to be a hero in the beginning, ever since he was a kid, but he didn't train for it. Bakugo did, though, and yeah, he had a quirk. Izuku could have still worked for it as hard as he could, and yet he just gave up You know, for some reason, after all he went through, he never changed on that front. As soon as he was powerless again, he didn't train himself and he basically just waited for someone to help him, which is disappointing. And it's why I know this ending was not well thought out and rushed as hell, which is a shame. I'm not a hater of My Hero Academia, but this ending definitely does not make me want to get invested into the manga and, you know, read the whole thing. I just think I'll stick to fan fiction for now. They're way better, anyways, in a lot of ways, you know. And don't give me that, you know, he was pressured, you know, Horikoshi was pressured and all that. I understand, but he didn't need to choose a shit ending like this, you know? And you know what's funny about the fanfiction stuff is a decent amount of them also call that out, you know, in their stories that Izuku didn't train since he was a kid, even though he wanted to be a hero so bad. Well, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did like the video, comment what you thought about the ending. Whether you hated it, or think it's meh, or okay, or you can just comment, you know, whatever. You know, I'm fine. I'm up to discussion. But if I don't, you know, immediately comment like within the hour or even a day, I'm not ignoring it or whatever. I just maybe didn't see it. You know, I don't know. But yeah, if you want to see more of me, you know, not just this content, right? Because I'm not sure I'll ever talk about anime or manga again. I definitely will, but I don't know if I'll do it like this. We'll see, right? I mean, on this channel, I kind of just want to do whatever. I mostly want to game. I mostly want to do, you know, edited gaming videos and whatnot, sort of playthroughs, but edited so that it's not freaking hours long and all that. That's pretty much what I want to do. But you know, I'm gonna do other stuff, not basically, you know, because I'm interested in doing them too. So yeah, but the main content is going to be gaming. So if you like me, or if you think I'm interesting, or maybe you're like, man, well, let's see if I like this guy personality or whatever, then subscribe and all that, and you know, mess with that bell so that you never miss an upload. Right? I don't really have an outro though, so I'll just see you next video. Have a good day.